the Lord said to Joshua, "Choose 12 men from among the people, one from each tribe, and tell them to take up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, and carry them over with you, and put them down at the place where you stay tonight, to serve as a sign among you. In the future, when your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them, 'These stones are meant to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever.'"
In the design of the furnishings, being that it's church furnishings, there's always occasion for symbols and symbolism, and artists are all about symbolisms. The geometric shapes that are used, they all have symbolic or theological meaning, like the triangle or the circle or the entwined circles, things of that nature.
Nathan Pope is a WELS pastor turned full-time liturgical artist who has been hand-making chancel furnishings, such as altars, pulpits, and baptismal fonts, out of his Racine studio for the last 15 years. He and his wife, Patty, have worked with around 50 or 60 WELS churches all over the country, including the Chapel of the Christ at Martin Luther College in New Ulm, Minnesota. And on deck for these artists is St. Matthew's new worship facility on Brown Street.
We started that process with the art committee or the decoration committee. Every church has a committee that deals with the liturgical aspects. So we began already discussing what the altar symbolism would be like.
The altar specifically is jam-packed with deep theological meaning and symbolism. Let's take a look at it in greater detail. The altar sits on a base of 12 stones, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel, just as Joshua had instructed God's people to do in the Old Testament. The top of the altar is lined with carved-out triangles representing the Trinity. And on the very top of the table, we find a Lamb of God, connecting this altar to the altar that the people of the Old Testament brought their burnt offerings to. However, today, when we come to God at the altar, we no longer need to sacrifice a burnt offering because Jesus already paid the ultimate sacrifice once and for all for the rest of time.
There'll be all sorts of things to discover in the church furnishings. So they're in there, and we'll write a booklet and describe most of the things, but there'll be some things that we leave for everyone to discover, like where's the hidden cross?
Because these are all completely handmade pieces, they may vary slightly from church to church, but what remains is the rich biblical truths that these pieces communicate, as well as the beauty that they possess for the glorification of our God in worship.
So it's not just making pretty things, but there's an educational goal behind it. Preach the gospel.
It's through the generous support of Forward that we're able to preach the gospel in our new worship facility, both through words and through this liturgical art, so we can tell future generations what these stones mean. And by the grace of God, we continue to move forward.